How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday night. And returning here is me, your host, Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God. I'm a deacon at a church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different issues, topics, and current events, and give you my perspective on them. One that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 40 years, non denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination, just in the word daily, trying to do it best day in and day out. So, if you are somebody who is interested in learning more about Christianity, if you are searching for something with meaning, maybe there's a voice in the back of your mind wondering if there's more to your existence than just your life here on earth, welcome to the show. Hopefully, you're able to get something out of this that helps you find your place, because really, this is where your place is. Not on this show, but in Christianity, a relationship with God, faith in Him, obedience to His word, and being studious and careful to find yourself pursuing Him in the way that we are asked to do so as best you can. And I say that because I'm, again, 40 years non denominational Protestant. I've been a Christian all my life, and I still screw up. And you will too. And so will the Christians around you. And there lies the rub. You may have had a bad experience with Christianity. Maybe it's with Christians or with church. Hopefully, I can help dispel some stereotypes or preconceptions you might have, or maybe just try to um, give you some information if you had a bad run-in with Christians in a way that made you feel like there was no love, there was no grace, um, there was no meaning behind it all. It was just, folks trying to, push you out of a club or judge you. That's not what Christianity is all about. That's not what the Bible is all about. And many people think that the Bible is this dry book of rules and judgments, and it's not. It has rules, it has judgments, but it has so much more to it. It has a beginning, it has prophecies towards the end times, it has the Messiah, Jesus. It has prophecy talking pointing to the Messiah, and then again talking about the end times. There's songs, there's proverbs, there's kings, there's armies, there's nations. There's so much to this. There's wisdom. There's the foundation of our faith and our commandments as people that we are given from God, and commandments and how the church should be administered. And so that is oftentimes where we find people running afoul. Christianity is it's faith. It's the truth. It's the path to God. As Jesus says, no one comes to the Father except through him. But that doesn't mean we always get it right. In fact, many times, whenever you find something whenever you find something with any semblance of power, you are going to find bad people attracted to it. So there will be bad actors. We've seen it countless times on the news and other places. But just because you may have come across Christians who didn't treat you the way you should have been treated, didn't try to spread the gospel to you, didn't try to bring you in a way that made you feel like you were family, you were part of the group. Maybe you ran into some level of abuse. Maybe you were into church growing up and just didn't feel right to you. Maybe that wasn't the right place for you. Some churches get it wrong. Some churches have a poor culture. Some churches just might not fit you. So maybe you're looking for something that's more closer to the truth. And you'll find many denominations in Christianity that do that. And I'll talk about that a little about that later. But please, I spend a lot of time during this intro as a welcome to folks who don't believe or who are wondering, who have not committed themselves yet, because that's important. There are folks that tune in that already have a deep sense of faith, have already given their lives to Christ, who've been Christians for years. And it's great that we can help each other, lift each other up, and support each other by talking about Christian topics and reading through the Bible and discussing it. But we want to reach more people. Heaven's a party that I want everybody to get, that everybody has an invitation to, and that I want everybody to accept. But accepting it's not as easy as saying, yeah, I'm going to show up. There's actions that's required behind that. So like I said, stick around if you're interested and find out what the Bible actually says. And maybe that will help you give church a chance or a second chance or however many chances you need to give it. And maybe you'll run into somebody like me. Maybe you'll run into a congregation where they're going to welcome you in, help feed you spiritually, help nurture your growth as a Christian, be a family for you, be somebody that you be a group that you can depend on, and then be someone that the group can depend on. And find your place the way so many people have. And be part of the chat. Speaking of the chat, and anybody else who is already a Christian and just enjoys Christian topics or discussions, welcome to the show. We've got a great chat here, a great group of folks who come in and night out and give us their thoughts, jokes, and impressions. And I want yours as well. Tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Let me know what we're talking about and how it impacts you. Maybe you have some insights or experience where what we're discussing, you have something to say. If you've got something to say it. We are a small enough group that if you put it out there, I'm going to read and respond to it. Right? I'm not here to castigate people for what they say. We're here, but we are here to have fun. And it's very relaxed and informal. It's a very cozy place to be. And we run it very similar to a Wednesday night study group or Sunday school. Come as you are, especially since you're the chat. I'm the one who has to be wearing clothes. Allegedly. I'm just the face. You guys are make the show what it is. And with that said, how's everybody doing? Nico is first. Dresden second. Alias third. Matt Felty coming in. MR, sorry I missed Monday and Tuesday. You only missed Tuesday. There was just Monday's stream was non-existent because it's softball season. It's softball season and soccer season. And since softball games and practice and soccer practice are on the same day, we don't have to split them. Porcupine's here. Porcupine said, got a sick 3-year-old daughter in my arms tonight for tonight's stream. 103 fever before Tylenol. Hopefully that gets down. And like many 3-year-olds, she's bouncing around before you know it, like it never happened, right? Right. But I'm sure she is not feeling that well. So may God give her healing so that she's bouncing off the walls and being a kid again. There we go. Texan Italian, how's it going? And someone I don't think has commented before, George Bonnie 90 with the Honda Avatar. How's it going, sir? Or Well, yeah, George, I'm going to assume that you're a dude. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat. I don't know where I put my water at. Guess I'm just going to go without it. It's way over there. Whatever. Okay, Blaine's here. We can start now. Oh, that's good. That's good. And Porcupine said lots of cuddles and snot. Oh, so parenting in general. Cuddles and snot. My wife is up there upstairs right now getting a little bit of both, I'm sure, as well. Anyway, welcome, Blaine. Boy George was named George, and the jury is still out on that. Well, he called himself Boy George. Called himself Boy George. And that's the thing about that. All right, so before we get into the Bible reading, I came across. Oh no, I came across other Paul. Came across the other Paul, who's a friend of this show, much like Blaine is, a fellow YouTuber, and he was talking about how he's giving up, or he's making a concerted effort at drawing a line when he's discussing his theology with people. Now, those of you who may not have watched this, the other Paul's channel, or my interview with him last month, I think it was last month. Paul is an Anglican. He's allegedly down in Australia, and he is a very, very smart cookie when it comes to studying the Bible. He's learning it in Greek, I believe. Alias, can you hear me? Can anybody else hear me? Alias is wondering if we lost sound. Let me check something. Audio. Do. Nope. I'm still coming through on here. Okay. Anyway, so what he said was, he's done answering for Protestantism as a whole. He's only going to speak for his Anglican faith, which I think is important. And this might be getting a little into the weeds that we don't get into as much. But there's a lot of arguments on Christian Twitter and in other religious debates in social media and sometimes face to face. We don't see them as much face to face. But when you run into it, you'll have atheists, agnostics, people from edgelords from different Zoroastrianism and Hinduism and everything. They talk about Protestants and Christians in general, and they say, "Oh, you guys do this. You guys do X." Right? Catholics and Orthodox talking to Protestants oftentimes, "You Protestants do X." And he says, "I'm not doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer for what my faith, the Anglican, my Anglican denomination, which I think is the truest path, the truest and best understanding of God, the most faithful approach to it. I'm going to answer for that. And if you've got a problem with something that the Baptists do and the Presbyterians do or the Catholics do, when the Orthodox does, or the Christians in general do, that's on you. You go argue with somebody else about it. I'm only going to give you my perspective from my denomination." And I thought that was a very well put thing, especially for Protestants, that we make sure that we are making distinctions on where we're coming from. I can't tell you about the Catholics I can infer some things and I'll tell you things that I've heard, but I will never speak with any real level of authority on the Catholic Church. Same thing for Orthodoxy. I have a lot of respect for traditional Catholics in many aspects. I have a lot of respect for the Orthodox Church. I have a lot of respect for Presbyterians, even though I disagree greatly with Calvinism. I have a lot of respect for people deep in the faith that hold on to what fundamentals are taught in the Bible, and not fundamentals on a theoretical theological debate, right? With is there predestination, or is the Eucharist the actual blood and body of Christ? What I'm more concerned about is your faith following the instructions given to us? Are we keeping Christ's commandments? Are we keeping God's commandments? Are we spreading the gospel? Are we treating people with grace? Are we holding true to our principles at the same time? It's a delicate balance. It's difficult. I know I've heard many of you guys talk about how difficult it is. We all understand that, which is a good thing we have grace. And that's why I also think it's very important that we answer for our own denominations. Like, I'm non-denominational, so I don't have to answer to any of them. I could just answer to myself. And that might be the coward's way out. But, I might have some opinions. I always have opinions. But where I'm often going to point back to is the Bible. And maybe we can talk about sola scriptura. That's one of the things I really want to get into. I know some of you guys have requested that. And when I get off of my Twitter, my social media break for Lent, when Lent ends, there's another thing that Catholics do that I think is really great. When Lent ends and I'm back on there, I'm going to start lining that stuff up. I want to have Paul come on and discuss that further. And I want him to make the case for Anglicanism or the Anglican Church or whatever. And he's Reformed. So he's also got a heavy dose of Calvinism in his theology. Like I said, I disagree with it. But I also have a very good feeling that while we allegedly live on different continents, in heaven we're going to be high-fiving each other. So there we go. All right. Let's see. Tell other Paul the drum set and Lent joke, or what's his best contact? What's the drum set and Lent joke? Blaine. Or you could just go on his channel. Paul is a Templar. If he legitimately believes he's on Australia, he's just a pawn. But if he's perpetrating the falsehood that Australia is real, then he's a Templar. And he might be a Jesuit. MR said, I watched Christians debate Muslims all weekend. We won them all, but I'm not going to brag. Yeah. We want all the Muslims to reject Muhammad and accept Christ as their one true savior. That would be great. That would be great. And do so calmly, right? Without all the theatrics of bombs. We've got enough of those with the IRA. We just got off of St. Patrick's Day. Who was a Protestant, by the way. And he wasn't Irish. If you want to fly your colors and really own the papists as a Protestant, wear orange. Wear orange on St. Patrick's Day. Like my brother did. Accidentally. And then I looked at it because we walked into a bar And he's like, everybody's wearing green, and he's wearing orange. And he's like, crap, I forgot to wear green. And I go, you're Protestant. You don't have to wear green. I forgot. I was wearing some green. I was wearing black. I was wearing a black shirt. Blaine said, had a guest pastor. I see you have a drum set, so I'm guessing you don't know what Lent is. Oh, that one. Yes. I did forget about that joke. And I will tell him about that. He'll probably appreciate it because he came from Hillsong, if you remember. That was his church in his formative years. And one of the things, starting with him and others, when I get back, one of my focuses for my social media presence is going to change for less going out and commentating and everything on some things, and more trying to make this channel and the social media assigned to it more of a hub for not just me and my content, but for other content creators. From videos from the other Paul to Lutheran satire to Thaddeus Patrick to we also want to include ministries like mission trips. What is it? Psalm 98, 90. Crap, I can't remember it. And I can't look it up because it's on my Facebook page. African missionary who has spoken at my church recently and who I talked to early on in my streaming endeavor. He is a missionary out in Africa and does a lot of good work out there. So promoting his content, maybe having him on the show, promoting Lutheran satire, promoting, there's a gentleman, Conversations with a Calvinist. He's hilarious. I want to get him on the show and start linking his work on there. And I want this to be a place that grows, not just as a place to come here, but as a hub to learn about what else is out there. There's a lot of different flavors of Christianity. Some are good and positive. Some will lead you down the wrong way. And whether we can consider that Christianity. The Universalists, the ELCA Lutherans, some Anglicans, some Catholics, Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, places like that. You're not going to find that here. Again, what I'm looking for. Are you fundamentally following the biblical commands and scriptures? Are you leading people towards that? At the same time, believing in grace. And love for your fellow man and your fellow Christian. There you have it. All right, guys. Well, we've reached the point in Chronicles where we are no longer going to be reviewing genealogy. Last night we wrapped up most of it, and I don't know, maybe there's going to be an ambush of genealogy later on in Chronicles, but for now, tonight at least, we won't be going down so much genealogy, I think. I don't trust it anymore. I trust that the Bible is true. I just can't trust the Bible not to sneak in genealogy and weird names that I can't pronounce when I least expect it. But we finished up that genealogy, and then we talked a lot about Saul and how Saul is probably where most of us fit in. The well-intentioned, well-meaning people who sometimes can't help but try to fit God's commands into our own worldview and to help our own situation versus having faith in God and obeying his commands. And Samuel having one of my favorite lines in the Bible what's more important, honoring God or obeying him, right? It's obeying. Obeying is honoring. If you honor in your own way, maybe you're not doing it the right way. And the instructions, the Bible is an instruction manual on that. He's given us commandments regarding it. So doing it your own way could run you afoul if you're not paying attention to that. And Saul dies. He takes his own life while surrounded by Philistines. They behead him. They had already killed his sons. It was a very sad time. And it hit David very hard. Even though Saul wanted David dead, David loved him. David honored him as the anointed king of Israel, anointed by God. And Jonathan was his closest friend. And Jonathan was Saul's son. David was married to Saul's daughter. That didn't go as well, I don't think, as planned. But there's a lot of drama involved in that. And so David's where we're going to pick up. In Chronicles chapter 11, David becomes king over Israel. And I'm going to do something that I neglected to do all of last stream, is share my screen in case any of y'all want to read along. As a reminder, use the Bible Gateway. Their app's pretty good. Their website's amazing. Got a lot of access to different translations, right? We use the NIV here. It's because that's what I grew up on. It's a great tool. You've got the Bible literally at the palm of your hand, in the palm of your hand at any time you've got your phone with you with an internet connection. So never say, I don't have my Bible. You can always download the app. It's free. It's free. You don't have to pay for anything. They do put ads in there that are kind of weird. Like non-biblical ads. I would think that everything would be faith related. It's not. It's some random stuff sometimes. It'll be interesting if my channel ever gets big enough where where I'm getting advertisement offers. I'm gonna take the advertisement offers. I don't want money from you guys at all. Like I say, y'all, if y'all want to support the stream, if y'all want to support the show, support the channel, advertise it to other people. Tell other people about it. Keep tuning in, contribute, talk in the chat. Those are the ways that support the stream. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. I don't need super chats. We're not even big enough for them anyway. I don't need super chats. I don't need local subscriptions. But what I will take money from businesses. I will take money from them. Right? So if they want me to advertise, depending on what the advertisement is and whatever, I'll do that. But it's not, I'll run it very similar to how Nick does it, right? I'm not going to change what I say. I'm not going to temper my speech because of it. And I'm probably going to have to invest some sort of attention to it. You know? Like, try the product. We'll research it a little bit, be part of it. That's how I'm just advertising it. But we'll see. Will there be ads from Christian Mingle? I don't know. I have no idea. And there's a lot of places out there that might not want to. I'm sure most things don't want to advertise on Christian streams because we have takes, issues, and opinions that are problematic to culture at large, and a lot of companies are either afraid of that culture or they're creatures of that culture. Our views are icky, they think. It's not popular. A lot of times doing the right thing isn't popular. And that sounds like a stupid Saturday morning cartoon PSA that we learned when we were kids, especially kids or folks my age will remember. And knowing is half the battle at the end of the G.I. Joe or the don't do drugs at the end of different cartoons. It's amazing how the things we learned when we were kids and that seem corny and cliche are huge truisms. Doing the right thing and making the right decision is not popular. And we learn that even in the Bible, that's the case. They put Christ on a cross. He was a perfect human. He was a perfect being. He was the Messiah. Pharisees used the Romans as a means to putting him up there and crucifying him. The Israelites, after Solomon, they're really all throughout the Exodus, consistently go try to turn the culture into something that is depraved. And they succeed after Solomon. And we see generations of Israelites doomed because they decided to go with the culture. And we'll talk about it. We'll refer to it back time and time again. 7,000 Israelites at one point, with millions of them in the nation. 7,000 Israelites held true to God's word and commandments and believed in him and only him. It's not popular. And there you have it. All right. David becomes king over Israel. 1 Chronicles 11, as I said. Real quick, MR says, technically you can't endorse personally without actually liking using the service, legally speaking in most cases. Yeah, I mean, I could read an advertisement, but if somebody wants me to actually speak on something, I couldn't in good conscience, even if it was legal, endorse something that I didn't personally endorse. I don't know how any of that stuff works, and I know that I might not ever be in that position, and I never have been in the past. If it happens, it happens. We'll see where we go. All right. All Israel came together to David at Hebron and said, "We are your own flesh and blood. In the past, even while Saul was king, you were the one who led Israel on their military campaigns." Which is true. "And the Lord your God had said to you, 'You will shepherd my people Israel, and you will become their ruler.'" When all the elders of Israel had come to King David at Hebron, he made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord. And they anointed David king over Israel, as the Lord had promised through Samuel, which he had. And now all this stuff's been done. Notice here, as we're going to go back, talk about this a little bit briefly. David had opportunities to kill Saul. Two specific opportunities where he had the drop on Saul big time. Could have executed him. And at that point, Saul was very long gone. Had stopped. God had effectively turned his back on Saul's actions. And David could have killed him. But David said, "Look, this is the anointed king of Israel. God anointed him." And until God outright says, "Saul, you are no longer king, and I am anointed king," I'm not going to be the king or act like I'm the king or do anything to harm the king or that would not be loyal to the king, as long as it doesn't put me in conflict with God. He's not the last person to do that, by the way. We've got a couple of folks that we'll see coming up and more in other books of the Bible that will kind of echo that mentality, which is the correct one. David's beast. David and all the Israelites marched towards Jerusalem, that is, Jebus. The Jebusites who lived there said to David, "You will not get in here." Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, which is the city of David. And suddenly I'm reminded of Borat. You will never get this. You will never get this. Well, one day he got through the cage and he got it. David had said, "Whoever leads the attack on the Jebusites will become commander in chief." Joab, son of Zeruiah, went up first, and so he received the command. Then David then took up residence in the fortress, and so it was called the city of David. He built up the city around it from the terraces to the surrounding wall, while Joab restored the rest of the city. And David became more and more powerful because the Lord Almighty was with him. Yeah. So we don't recall there was a little incident with the Jebusites in Jerusalem saying he wasn't going to be able to get in. We'll go back to 2 Samuel 5. The Jebusites said to David, "You will not get in here. Even the blind and lame can ward you off." They thought David could not get in here. Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, which is the city of David. And on that day, David said, "Anyone who conquers the Jebusites will have to use the water shaft to reach those lame and blind who are David's enemies." That is why they say the blind and lame will not enter the palace. David making jokes. As he should. They were running their mouths. They shouldn't have. Idiots. Dummies. And here we come into the meat of tonight's discussion, or meat of tonight's reading. David's mighty warriors. These were the chiefs of David's mighty warriors. They, together with all Israel, gave his kingship strong support to extend it over the whole land as the Lord had promised. This is the list of David's mighty warriors. Davy's mighty warriors, if you're close to David and he allows you to call him Davy. Oh, great. More names. Jashobeam, a Hakmonite, was chief of the officers. He raised his spear against 300 men who he killed in one encounter. Get some dynasty warriors in here. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai, the Ahoite, one of the three mighty warriors. He was with David at Pasdanim when the Philistines gathered there for battle. At a place where there was a field full of barley, the troops fled from the Philistines. They took their stand in the middle of the field. They defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. 3 of the 30 chiefs came down to David to the rock at the cave of Adullam, while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of the Rephaim. At that time, David was in the stronghold, and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink for water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the 3 broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out to the Lord. "God forbid that I should do this," he said. "Should I drink the blood of these men who went at the risk of their lives?" Because they risked their lives to bring it back, David would not drink it. I think that's David regretting his words, that he said something that they took seriously that maybe he didn't mean as powerfully, and they went out and did it at great risk to their own lives. And David didn't want to reward that behavior or reward himself or feel like that is something he should benefit from. Interesting leadership. Very interesting leadership. David was a good dude. Such were the exploits of the 3 mighty warriors. Abishai, the brother of Joab, was chief of the 3. He raised a spear against 300 men, whom he killed, and he became as famous as the 3. He was doubly honored above the 3 and became their commander, even though he was not included among them. So it's like the 4th musketeer, not really, but the 3 musketeers boss. I guess the threshold to get in is you have to kill at least 300 people. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, a valiant fighter from Kabzeel, performed great exploits. He struck down Moab's 2 mightiest warriors. He also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. Hey, you see that? I know it's cold, but you see that lion down there? I'm going to go kill it. And he struck down an Egyptian who was 5 cubits tall. How tall is 5 cubits? Let's see the annotation. That is about 7 feet 6 inches, or about 2.3 meters. He took down a big dude. Not quite Goliath, but big. Although the Egyptian had a spear like a weaver's rod in his hand, Benaiah went against him with a club. Love it. He snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. Which is awesome. Such were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. He too was as famous as the 3 mighty warriors. He was held in great honor. He was held in greater honor than any of the 30, but he was not included among the 3. And David put him in charge of his bodyguard. The mighty warriors were Asahel, the brother of Joab, Elhanan, son of Dodo from Bethlehem, Shemoth, the Hararite, Helez, the Pelonite, Ira, son of Ikesh from Tekoa, Abizer from Anathoth, Sibbecai, the Hushathite, Eli, the Ahohite, Maharai, the Netophathite, Heled, son of Baana, the Netophathite, Ittai, son of Ribai, not the steak, son of Ribai from Gibeah in Benjamin, Benaiah, the Pirathonite, Hurai from the ravines of Gash, Abiel, the Arbathite, Asmaveth, the Baharumite, Eliabah, the Shalbanite, the sons of Hashan the Gizonite, Jonathan, son of Shagi, the Hararite, Ahim, son of Sakar, the Hararite, Eliphal, son of Ur, Hefer, the Mecherathite, Ahijah, the Pelonite, Hezro, the Carmelite, Nerai, son of Ezbai, Joel, the brother of Nathan, Mibhar, son of Hagri, Zelek, the Ammonite, Naharai, the Barathite, the armor bearer of Joab, son of Zeruiah, Ira, the Ithrite, Gareb, the Ithrite, Uriah, the Hittite, that David later had killed. And Uriah the Hittite did nothing wrong, by the way. Zabad, son of Ali, or Ahlai, I don't know. Adina, son of Shiza, the Reubenite, who was chief of the Reubenites, and the 30 with him. Hanan, son of Makkah, Josaphat, the Mithnite, Uzziah, the Ashtarothite, Shammah and Jael, the sons of Hotham, the Ararite, Jediel, son of Shimri, the brother of Johat, the Tizite, Eliel, the Mahavite, Jerubai, and Joshivia, the sons of Elnam, Ithma, the Moabite, Eliel, Obed, and Jasiel, the Mesobite. With the Mesobite. I'm assuming that's 30. I wasn't counting. Maybe you guys can double check the math. The warriors joined David. These were the men who came to David at Ziklag, while he was banished from the presence of Saul, son of Kish. They were among the warriors who helped him in battle. They were armed with bows and were able to shoot arrows or to sling stones right-handed or left-handed. They were relatives of Saul from the tribe of Benjamin. Ahiezer, their chief, and Joash, the sons of Shema, the Gibeathite, Jeziel, and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth, Beruka, Jehu, the Anathonite, and Ishmaiah, the Gibeonite, a mighty warrior among the 30, who was a leader of the 30, Jeremiah, Jehaziel, Jonathan, or Johanan, Jozabad, the Gederathite, Eluzai, Jeremoth, Beliah, Shemariah, and Shephatiah the Heraphite. Gosh, I hate this part. Elkanah, Ishiah, Azarel, Jozer, and Jashabim, the Korahites, and Jola and Zebediah, the sons of Jeraham from Gedor. Some Gadites defected to David at his stronghold in the wilderness. They were brave warriors ready for battle and able to handle the shield and spear. Their faces were the faces of lions, and they were swift as gazelles in the mountains. Ezer was their chief, Obadiah the second in command, Eliab the third, Mishmana the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, and Macbani the 11th. Nika says, lol, can't they be like Bob or Dave? I guess Jonathan, right? We get all these names, and then we've got one of the sons of Jacob, Israel. It's Dan. And if you want to call Benjamin Ben, right? Joseph, Joe. Come on, guys. Like there are some not normal, or what do you call it, mainstream names among the tribes, among the children of Jacob. But none of them are some of these are as difficult as Shema, a Nathonite, Shemaria, Shephatiah. I don't know, guys. Imagine trying to say this in battle. I couldn't do it. They have to have nicknames. These Gadites were army commanders. The least was a match for 100, and the greatest for 1,000. It was they who crossed the Jordan in the first month when it was overflowing all its banks. And they put to flight everyone living in the valleys, to the east and to the west. Important to note here that at first, when David was driven from Saul, when Saul wanted to have him killed, and he ran, David was kind of on his own. Jonathan couldn't go with him. I think Jonathan might have offered. I can't remember, but Jonathan wasn't with him. And then David was certainly very popular, but he didn't have the throne. But because David was righteous, and David was a man of honor, a man of God, courageous in battle, and an excellent warrior, he attracted the best of the best. And they came to fight for him. And they did many great deeds because in fighting for him, God was with them. Other Benjamites and some men from Judah also came to David in his stronghold. David went out to meet them and said to them, "If you have come to me in peace to help me, I am ready for you to join me. But if you have come to betray me to my enemies when my hands are free from violence, may the God of our ancestors see it and judge you." It's important to note, Benjamites, that's the tribe that Saul's from. They came to him. Some defected to him. Right? That's a big deal. You're going against your tribe. You're the king is a man from your tribe. And you're leaving him. David's from Judah. Then the Spirit came on Amasai, the chief of the 30, and he said, "We are yours, David. We are with you, son of Jesse. Success to you, and success to those who help you, for your God will help you." So David received them and made them leaders of his raiding bands. Some of the tribe of Manasseh defected to David when he went with the Philistines to fight against Saul. He and his men did not help the Philistines because, after consultation, their rulers sent him away. They said, "It will cost us our heads if he deserts to his master Saul." They didn't want to send him in battle because they knew that there was a chance, and probably a pretty good one, that David gets into the battle, decides to help the Israelites, and ends up beating the brakes off of them. And MR, wow, Saul really could have been great, but he messed up. He did. He really did. David was unquestionably loyal to him. But Saul had messed up. Samuel had told him that God was going to give his tribe, or give the throne to somebody else. And he rightly surmised that it was going to be David, and he hated him for it. He didn't blame himself, which is the only person he could have done blame for his actions. He blamed David. He took it out on David. And there were times where Saul realized that he had done the wrong thing, and he was seemingly, genuinely sorry and regretful about that. But he always went back to where he was at. And he always went back to going after David. But Saul could have been great if he would have been fine if he'd have just let David be his right-hand man. But he couldn't stand it. He couldn't stand the sight of a man inheriting what Saul had squandered, which was the Lord's blessing. He tried to kill him. Like, that's going to solve it. Like, God's going to go, "Oh, okay. Okay, now, yeah, you killed David, so now you can stay king now." Or trying to kill David like God wouldn't intervene. Saul. Guy. Come on, man. When David went to Ziklag, these were the men of Manasseh who defected to him: Adnah, Jozabad, Jediel, Michael, there you go, Mikey, Nico, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zilithai, leaders of units of 1,000 in Manasseh. They helped David against raiding bands, for all of them were brave warriors, and they were commanders in his army. Day after day, men came to help David until he had a great army, like the army of God. Heaven on earth. Others joined David at Hebron. These are the numbers of the men armed for battle who came to David at Hebron to turn Saul's kingdom over to him, as the Lord had said. From Judah, carrying the shield and spear, 68,000 armed for battle. Less than half of what I expected. From Simeon, warriors ready for battle, 7,100. From Levi, 4,600. From including Jehoiada, leader of the family of Aaron, with 3,700 men, and Zadok, a brave young warrior, with 22 officers from his family. From Benjamin, Saul's tribe, 3,000, most of whom had remained loyal to Saul's house until then. From Ephraim, brave warriors, famous in their own clans, 20,800. Ephraim, bringing it. From the half-tribe of Manasseh, designated by name to come and make David king, 18,000. From Issachar, men who understood the times and knew what Israel should do, 200 chiefs, with all their relatives under their command. That's a lot, guys. From Zebulun, experienced soldiers prepared for battle with every type of weapon to help David with undivided loyalty, 50,000 men. From Naphtali, 1,000 officers, together with 37,000 men carrying shields and spears. From Dan, ready for battle, 28,600. From Asher, experienced soldiers prepared for battle, 40,000. 68,000. And from east of the Jordan, from Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh, there, armed with every type of weapon, 120,000 men. Let's do a little bit of calculating. Emmanuel, what's going on, buddy? Hadn't seen you in a couple of days. Glad you made it in. You missed genealogy yesterday, okay? And some other stuff about the show. But I think that, and we discussed Saul. We discussed Saul a bit. All right. So, trusty calculator, 68,000 from Judah, 6. Yeah, it sucks because life stuff, but I'm glad I'm here today. Emmanuel, I hope everything's going well for you. Just glad you're here, man. If you miss a show, you miss a show. 6,800 from Judah, 7,000 Simeon, 4,600 from Levi, 3,000 from Benjamin, 20,800 Ephraim, 18,000 from half of Manasseh, Issachar. We'll put 200 chiefs. We don't know how many that's going to be. It's going to be a lot. I'd say that's at least 20,000, but we won't assume. 50,000 from Zebulun, 1,000 Naphtali, and then 1,000 officers, and then 37,000 men there. Dan brings 28,600. Asher brings 40,000. Then from the east of the Jordan, the other dudes, 120,000. Bringing a total, if we don't include anything other than the 200 chiefs from Issachar, 337,100 men. And among them, some of the greatest heroes of the day, and maybe in history, right? All these were fighting men who volunteered to serve in the ranks. This isn't all of Israel. This is just the guys who decided to fight for David, by the way. They came to Hebron fully determined to make David king over all Israel. All the rest of the Israelites were also of one mind to make David king. The men spent 3 days there with David, eating and drinking, for their families had supplied for provisions for them. Also, their neighbors from as far away as Issachar, Zebulun, and Naphtali came bringing food on donkeys, camels, mules, and oxen. There were plentiful supplies of flour, fig cakes, not to be confused with a cookie, raisin cakes, wine, olive oil, cattle, and sheep. For there was joy in Israel. There we go, guys. John swooping in. Great comments as always. January 6th, Old Testament edition. No, dude, they're just sitting there to protest, right? That's the best. Oh my goodness. There you go. How many? Here's the question, John. All these men that we just counted out, how many of them were feds? How many of them are Israelite feds? That's great. By the way, I was listening to Nick's show for Monday night, I think it was, talking about his he was talking about protests and going to protests and being there. I went in 2010 to a Tea Party rally in Richmond. Feds. um God, you gotta stop. I went to a Tea Party rally like when Tea Party thing first started up, right? I went to one, and the whole time it felt like nobody there really. Everybody was just kind of milling about. You're right. They were holding some signs. They were all just sitting there like normal people showing up at a gathering because they're pissed off about something, like a giant HOA protest, right? Actually, it's probably even more congenial than that because HOA protests or HOA meetings with hostility are awful. But I stuck around for about a half hour and left, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. There's too much of a chance for somebody to do something and be there. And I don't have a problem with people who protest. I think that's like legitimately and legally protest. I'm not talking about burning your local Target down and looting it because with social media. And but it's not. I don't feel comfortable with it. And I really understood what he was saying when he was talking about, look, I got a better voice away from it. I've got a big target on my back, all that other stuff. It's his decision anyway, but I completely understood why. Because, I mean, me being a relative nobody and a definite nobody back then, I didn't feel comfortable with it. We had a march, a pro Second Amendment march in Richmond. A couple of my friends went to it. One of my friends parked got to park right next to Alex Jones. It's got a great picture of it. It's hilarious. But there was all this to do about how it was going to be violent and whatnot. And I was worried about it because there was a lot of people. There was a lot of Hawaiian shirts there. There were a lot of long rifles there, but they were talking about exercising their Second Amendment rights, and I understood, and I was glad. I was glad that they did that. Like I said, I am a supporter of the Second Amendment. I can't find biblical support or really biblical reasons against supporting it. So, I'm doing my thing. I believe it's right, but I don't feel comfortable in those groups, and I think that they are oftentimes, unfortunately, an opportunity for bad actors, either from opposing groups or government groups, to put a bad actor in a position, or multiple bad actors in a position, to ruin and act in contrast to the point of the protest, right? And if you're going to go to one of these things, I just want you guys to be careful. I want you to have a good time. I want you to get accomplished what you want to accomplish, and I want you to be safe and out of trouble, right? Because when we talk about it later on, we're getting ready to get into more of this more often. The Israelites in exile, the Jewish people under Roman occupation and under Roman rule. It ain't great. It's a lot worse than we got here, right? Legitimate second-class citizens. They still had to exist. Christianity flourished under that. And Christianity is making inroads even in China. They hate religion in China. And Christianity is making inroads there. So it sucks. We are blessed enough. We live in a country where we still have a great many rights, even though we disagree. Even though we've got a lot of boneheaded and bozo politicians that want to take away as many rights as possible and give it to the government. We live in a reality where we're still very, very free and very able to do as we please. That might not be that might not be the case in the future. That might not be the case for our kids or our grandkids. You never know what's going to happen. But what we have to be prepared for as Christians is to continue to obey God's commandments, to spread the gospel, be disciples, honor God, do those things. And that comes before anything else. And it's a hard pill to swallow. But our time here on earth is temporary. Our time after here is eternal. And every Christian lives in a monarchy, ultimately, because Christ is king. Right? That's who we ultimately answer to. So if we have to go along to get along with some things we don't like, freedom-wise, we might have to put up with it. The beauty of what I think we are allowed to do, because a lot of people go, oh, you're supposed to listen to the government. It says so in the Bible. It does to a degree, right? It does to a degree. Let's not argue that point with them. But the government, the Roman government, was very different from the government we have now. Jewish people were not citizens. And there was still less freedom for Romans, even. I mean, look, life was good within Rome if you were a Roman. But we live in a country where we're the government, according to our document, right? We're the government. So it gives us a lot more leeway when it comes to protesting and having a problem with something. And having a problem with government overreach when the document that we all live under in this country has certain accords made to us. But again, your Christian faith should be more important to you than your country and your government. But yeah, That's where I'm at with that, and I don't like it to a degree. Like it doesn't sit well with you. But when you sit down and think about it, what is more important? Your salvation or however many years you got to live with politicians writing dumb laws to inconvenience your life or maybe maybe introduce hardships. I don't know. I don't know. And Mar says at least 30 Judean feds and backup from Egypt. I would think it'd be the Israelites. Well, Judah wasn't there yet. Judah wasn't there yet. It was still just Israel. The feds would have come from Benjamin, though. PH feds. John Smoth. Moses' face glowing when he came down from the mountains confirmed he was a fed. He was a fed for the Lord, though. Emmanuel, HOA, is that a real thing? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. HOAs, and look, I was in a fairly mild HOA, but a buddy of mine was the vice president on the HOA board for a little while, and I went to some of the meetings, and I've heard stories about meetings that go south. I mean, people can get into fights, and all sorts of tomfoolery comes about from those things. If you've got a neighbor who is doing something that you don't think is in line with the HOA, and you can't get the HOA to do anything, there are people who have been known to try to take things into their own hands to sabotage them. Likewise, if you've got a neighbor who thinks they're your nanny. My HOA got me petty one time. My dad had left a trailer, small, very small, like a trailer that would hold a lawnmower on it, like a riding lawnmower on it. So it's it's a 7-foot trailer. We were doing some yard work, and we were using it to put some of the stuff that we were going to take away from the house. And I had it beside the house. And I got a letter in the mailbox from the HOA saying that it wasn't the trailer protruded out from the front of the house. And it couldn't do that. It was literally protruding at like 3 feet. I felt like I just wanted to leave it in the driveway at that point. I was just going to pop that thing in the driveway and leave it there. I probably should have. But yeah, HOA is full of petty people and full of a lot of opinions. They're horrible. They're horrible. Never buy a house in an HOA. MR, I used to not believe in agitators, but I'm almost certainly convinced. Yeah, I mean, I've become more of a conspiracy theorist in my older years, just from things being conspiracies being true a lot. Not all conspiracies, mind you, but I always believe in agitators. It's too easy. It's too easy. HOA is too real. Unfortunately, it's real. Matt Felty or Matthew Felty. I don't know if you wanted to go by Matt or Matthew. Paul had to assert his Roman citizenship to save his life, and ultimately it didn't save his life. But yeah. Use what tools you have available to you. We have tools. We have the Constitution. We have processes. They don't always work, and they don't always work, and there's a lot of corruption in the system. But what are you going to do about it? We still have to exist. We still have the sun is still rise. The sun still rises. Why did the human soft serve have to ruin the phrase Christ is king? What is human soft serve? What are you talking about that? What is that? MR, oh please, HOA is communism and perfect proof it doesn't work in small or large scale. I wish I could make a living owning HOAs. Hey, you're in the right. Oh, also HOAs almost always incredibly corrupt. Find me an HOA, and I bet you if you ask far enough, if you ask at least at one point in the last 10 to 15 years, maybe less, somebody has been caught, dismissed, or gone to jail for stealing money from the HOA. Somebody in the admin office, somebody on the HOA board, somebody. In our HOA, this guy bought 30 the guy who was the HOA manager paid for his deck with HOA funds and bought 30 computers for himself with HOA funds. What he did with those computers, I have no idea. But that happens everywhere in all HOAs. It is insane. People are thieves. You'll believe how bad and corrupt Israel had been? Live in an HOA. Oh, I hate HOAs. So they're just a bunch of snitching neighbors. I mean, look, there's a lot of people who just want to live in a nice, well manicured community where there is some expectation of keeping your yard and house looking nice, and having a nice pool, having nice roads in the community, and some just having that peace. Like it's an idyllic place to be. And then they get in and they realize it's just like, oh crap, well, at least the house is worth something and it's in a nice neighborhood or whatnot. And they're fine. They're just average people, and they don't care. They just want to live there. But all it takes, if 10% is bad, that's every 10 houses you've got a jerk. You've got a jerk in there with a chip on his shoulder, wanting to start trouble just to start trouble. Or it's a Karen. Right? One of the two. There doesn't seem to be more of one than the other. There's guys who get a boner for that, and there's women who are hard up to do that crap. I might do Felty, Matt. I might do Felty. Imagine HOA in LA. Yeah, we'll talk about HOA in LA in the Bible when it refers to hell. That's my idea of hell. An HOA in Los Angeles. Good night. It's like getting chocolate fudge on chocolate ice cream, Nico. No, because chocolate fudge on that chocolate ice cream is great. It's like the opposite. Porcupine says, I'm a stubborn ass. That's why I never bought around an HOA. We had a good deal on our first house, a really good deal. It was really nice. We had never been in an HOA. Me and my wife I had just turned 26. We were still young. It was at the bottom of the mortgage crisis, or it was right at the lowest point of the mortgage crisis. Alias, I thought LA was an HOA. Well, I don't live in LA. But I bet you I don't live in California, but I feel like living in California, I'd feel like I'd be living in HOA. Hell, living in Virginia sometimes feels like I'm living in an HOA. There are going to be people trying to screw others up, especially when it benefits the politicians. I mean, yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's like it's why we lose our faith in humanity about a bunch because people do this. I was talking to my son yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. I was telling him, how do I explain to you that there are bad people out in the world? That people want to do the bad thing, not because they are confused, because some people want to do bad things just because they want to do bad things. Ethan Ralph. Oh, Blaine was talking about the human soft serve. Ethan Ralph. Christ is king. Just say it. Just say it regular, or say it like a battle cry. Say it like a man, and it'll sound different. Christ is king. There you go. It's like peeing in the community pool. That's very true. Community pools are for the poors. Porcupine, and I'm going to live down by the river in my bus. Texan Italian with the in a van down by the river. My dad drove me to Newark and rode me around as an anti-drug lesson. That's brilliant. That is brilliant. I need to do that. I need to do that for my son. Later. All right, guys. Let's wrap up. Y'all are great. It's great chat. Great stream. Getting a little bit close to our normal stride, about an hour and a half into the stream. A lot of the usuals down here. MR, Texan Italian, Porcupine Mayhem, Felty, Blaine. Blaine, you streaming tonight? Emmanuel, Alias, Nico, John Smoth, cracking me up. John Smoth bats close to 1,000 on his comments. They are always bangers. Almost always bangers. I just can't think of one that wasn't. George Bonney, I hope you're still here. I hope you were able to withstand the all the side talk. I hope you enjoyed discussing Chronicles. Maybe you're still here, maybe you're not. But I'm glad you popped in. I'm glad you said hi. And I hope you come back. And I hope you become another awesome contributor to this chat. And Dresden, all you guys. You make the show great. And thanks for the laughs, thanks for the questions, thanks for the impressions. Blaine said, it's Waifu Wednesday, setting up now. I might tune in. I got to watch Record of Ragnarok, though, Blaine, because you gave me that to watch. That's my homework. Thanks, fam. Don't give me kissy face. That's awful. Don't ruin it now, John. The ones where I talk about being from Canada suck. No, but the fact that you understand it's from Canada help. Please invade and give me the Second Amendment. I have a couple of friends from Canada who are right there with you. Right there with you. Oh, also, it does look like I will be in the Nashville show in September. I'll probably be at the Nashville show in September. That'll be cool. The wife will likely be making the trip with me, but she may or may not go to the show. But we are going to make a kind of a mini vacation out of it and see Nashville. She's wanted to see it for a while. And yeah, it'll be another. I'll be meeting up with some friends while we're there. Some folks whose shows I've been on and who's been on this show are talking about going there. So we might have some of that, and some of my other buddies might be showing up. So we're all Nick adjacent. Anyway. All right, guys. You all have a fantastic evening, right? We'll be back on tomorrow night talking some more about David, I'm assuming. Yep. Talking a little bit about the Ark and David and his more of his exploits. So take it easy, guys. Have a great evening. Love you guys. Good night and God bless.